Welcome to the Capstone 1, Capstone 2 candidate webinar. We're going to give you a little bit of an overview of the PEP program, and then we're going to get into a bit more detail on Capstone 1 and Capstone 2. So just for those of you who haven't been in a module before in the PEP program, the key considerations are that candidates are accountable for their prior learning, and therefore when you go to the competency map, it will tell you the expectations of a student coming in at each of the different modules. So you should be going to the competency map, looking at the expectations for those coming in at Capstone 1 and what is expected of you at the different competency areas. The other thing that is important to realize is that face-to-face time is sacred. You only have the one weekend in both Capstone 1 and Capstone 2 with your session leader, and therefore we want to make sure that we use that time as well as we can. And the other thing we want to do is give you as much feedback as we can on how you're progressing through the module. So just a quick overview. I'm sure most of you have looked at this before, but we do have the CPA competency map, and you must refer back to this. We will be telling your facilitators and telling you as well that you always have to refer back to the competency map if you want to know what is on the exams. So we have the green, the enabling competencies at the top, and then we have our 6 technical competency areas. As well, there is the idea of A, B, and C. A being the highest level of proficiency, where you can thoroughly analyze something and generate a very useful conclusion. B being a partial analysis and reach a logical conclusion, and C being that you understand it and can explain it to someone. The competency map, as I've said, describes the knowledge, skill, and proficiency levels you must have, and it helps you understand what is expected of you entering into a module and what is expected when you have completed the module. So as you can see here, we have the level of expectation at entry, at core, and then also at the assurance, and then coming into Capstone 1. So coming into Capstone 1, your ability to evaluate financial reporting is at an A level. Your ability to explain implications of current trends and emerging issues is at a C level for those of you in Capstone 1. It would only be in Capstone 2, where you have selected the assurance role, that you would be at a level B. This is the URL link to the competency map, and I suggest that you make sure you are aware of that and download it so you can refer back to it as often as needed. So again, because some of you are coming in right at Capstone 1, just a bit of background. You had your subject area requirements to get into the PEP modules. People would have done Core 1 and Core 2, which is the common modules covering all 6 competencies. You then had to choose 2 electives out of the 4. If you wanted a public accounting license or you were going for dual designation, you must have written the exams in assurance and tax. Or if you've come in from the CGA world and you've been exempt from these, you would come in at Capstone 1, as well as the CPA accredited programs coming out of the university would have come in at Capstone 1 as well. In Capstone 1, you're going to be working on your enabling competencies, your leadership skills, your professional skills, and we're going to start integrating the competencies. So we're expecting you to be able to talk to the assurance, the PM, the tax, the financing, financial reporting, and management accounting in one case. Capstone 2 is an exam preparation module, so it's helping to build you, to get you ready for the final exam, and then we have the CFE, or the common final exam. And we'll discuss that in a little more detail later on. Of course, at the same time, you should be completing your practical experience, or you can do that after you've finished all the modules. So Capstone 1, it's 8 weeks long, and it's an online module. It starts out with a 2-day workshop, and then there's a 1-week gap after you've completed everything, and then you'll come in and do your group presentations. Capstone 2, again, is 8 weeks long. You start off with a workshop, but partway through you actually do a mock CFE, but it's only day 2 and day 3, and then at the end you will do the CFE. Through all our modules, we do work you through the CPA way, which is a way of analyzing a case, or sort of the umbrella of a case. where you're going to talk. Your CPA mindset is that you have the professional knowledge and skill to answer the case that's being provided to you. You're going to assess the situation, i.e. what is the story of this company? What are the deadlines? What reporting are they under? What constraints do they have? Then you're going to analyze the major issues and present alternatives. You're going to conclude and advise. And of course, all of this you're going to communicate in a professional manner. We also have the DISC assessment, which all of you should have done by now. You either did it in Core 1 or it was mailed out to you earlier before you started Capstone 1. And we're going to integrate that into all of the workshops, and particularly in Capstone 1 where we select the group formation. So you will be put into groups as much as possible with your DISC profile. So you're given someone from every DISC profile, so you have strengths and weaknesses from every group in your group that you're working on. As far as the online assignments and resources go, in Capstone 1, the majority of the work is done in your groups of 5. You're working on a board report, so it's one major case that you are presenting a report on. You will be submitting that in 3 stages in week 2, 5, and 7. Part 1 of it is submitted by your group, so you need to designate one person to upload it into the Dropbox, and it is everyone in that group's responsibility that that gets uploaded on time. So you should be checking that Dropbox yourself, even if it's not your responsibility to upload it, to make sure it does get uploaded before the deadline, which is midnight Pacific Standard Time on the Friday. Your facilitator will review your Part 1 submission, and if it's acceptable, you will move on. If it is not acceptable, you will get one chance to revise it. In week 5, the same thing, you'll submit Part 2. Again, if it's acceptable, you move on. If not acceptable, you will be given one chance to revise it. In week 7, you submit Part 3, and that's your final report. There is no revisions allowed. And if it's not successful, then the entire group will have not passed Capstone 1 and will have to repeat it. You will also have to do some peer and self-reflections throughout the modules, and that's to ensure that everyone in the module is pulling their weight, in the group, is pulling their weight and is participating. In week 8, you will come in and do your presentation before a panel of 4 CPAs. You'll speak for a set amount of time, and then they will have a question and answer period where they can ask anyone on the team questions, or sometimes they will just direct it to the entire group and the group will decide who to answer it. You want to make sure in your presentations that everyone presents and everyone answers the questions, so it's clear that everyone understands the case and the solution that you have provided. If the panel does not feel that your presentation is a pass, you will be given a second chance to come in and represent on the Tuesday of week 9. In Capstone 2, you'll be working on the cases in the exams. These will require bi-weekly submissions of CFE practice cases. The Day 1 case, which is a 4-hour long case, incorporates the large case that is used in Capstone 1. The Day 2 case, you need to elect which role you are going to answer from. So you can elect assurance, finance, PM, or tax. Again, if you're going for public accounting, you must select assurance. There's also some case walkthroughs, some debriefing videos, some sample responses, some solutions. All of these are there to help you debrief your answer and to improve on your case writing skills. In week 4, you write a mock CFE, which is marked nationally and returned back to you. So this will be Day 2 and Day 3 of the CFE. And then there's the Day 3 cases, which will be reviewed by your facilitator. And the Day 3 cases are multi-competency 60 to 80 minute cases. Day 1 and Day 2 and the mock exams are going to be marked by the Case Center staff. All of these exams must be written in Secure Exam, and there's information on how to download Secure Exam on the D2L website. All your assignments must be submitted through the Dropbox in D2L. Again, please don't leave it to the deadline, because if you have technical difficulties right at the deadline, that is not an acceptable reason for not having uploaded them. The Dropbox closes at the set time. It's not available 1 minute after the deadline, so it's always best to have them uploaded well in advance of the deadline. All your activities within the weekly assignments must show a reasonable attempt, or you'll not be allowed to write the final exam. So in order to get you ready for the Capstone 1 presentations, there's actually a practice presentation that you will do, and you will videotape it and submit it online to your facilitator, who will give you some feedback on the presentation. You'll also have some practice at the workshops. Locations and schedules will be posted on D2L when they are available. So going back to day 1 of the CFE, it's a 4-hour case. Again, it's based on your Capstone 1 case. You will be given the Capstone 1 case, not your solution, but the Capstone 1 case in the day 1 of the CFE. The idea of day 1 is that it's not testing you on your core knowledge, it's testing your own ability to problem solve. So if I give you a contribution margin, what does that tell you about this company? How can you analyze that information and solve the company's problems and give them some recommendations? If you fail day 1 but pass day 2, 3, you will only need to repeat day 1. Day 2 of the CFE is a 5-hour comprehensive case. Again, you have to have elected a role, and you will do this when you sign up for Capstone 2, and again you will reconfirm that role when you sign up for the CFE. You must show depth in financial reporting and/or management accounting. So the first few pages of this case will be common to everyone, and they will explain what the financial reporting and management accounting issues are, and then you will turn to the area of your elected role and just read the information for your elected role and answer the rest of the question there. To be licensed, you must demonstrate depth in financial reporting. So you can pass the CFE by showing depth in management accounting, but you would not be eligible for licensure unless you also showed depth in financial reporting. The focus on day 2 is much more on your technical knowledge rather than on your enabling competencies as in day 1. Day 3 is 4 hours, multi-subject cases, and again focusing on your core knowledge and technical. And if unsuccessful on day 2 or 3, you must repeat day 2 or 3. You're not required to retake Capstone 2. So these exams are marked not with a key or marking guide, but by assessment opportunity. So an assessment opportunity would be related to an issue. So if there was in financial reporting, there was an issue on revenue recognition, there would be an assessment opportunity which would say the candidate addressed the revenue recognition issues. The markers would then determine whether the candidate had displayed enough evidence of competency and give them a C, or if they were reaching, which means they had some evidence of the competence but insufficient to be considered competent, or nominally competent, which means virtually no evidence of competence. Competence with distinction would be someone who was above and beyond what was expected at this stage of their career and on this exam. So in order to pass the CFE, level 1 is that you have obtained, and we're just talking day 2 and day 3 here. Day 1 is globally marked in that all the paper is read from beginning to end, and it's determined whether it's a pass or a fail based on a total read of the paper. For day 2 and day 3, there is a score behind the competencies and the reaching competence. So level 1 is, did they obtain a high enough score to pass the exam? Level 2 is, did they demonstrate depth in either financial accounting or management accounting? You don't need to do both, although it's very difficult to pass the exam if you don't show it in both. And you must show depth in financial accounting if you want to be considered for public accounting. Level 3 is, did they show depth in their elective role? So remember, on day 3 you select your elective role, and again, if you wanted to do public accounting, your elected role had to be assurance. And then level 4 is basically based mostly off the day 3 exam, was have you shown enough breadth in all 6 competencies? So someone who avoids the tax or avoids the finance in the exam would not pass at level 4, even if they'd passed at levels 1, 2, and 3. So going back to our online modules, You have a facilitator, and every person in the module has a facilitator, and this is the person that you should be going to with your questions. This is the person that's going to review your submissions and give you some feedback. So in Capstone 1, they're going to work with your groups, they're going to have chats with you, they're going to review your board report and your peer and self-reflections. In Capstone 2, they are going to review your cases for day 3. They will also respond to any emails and discussion board postings that you have within 24 hours. But you have to remember that the facilitator is not there to give you the answer. They're there to help you find the resources that will help you determine what the answer is. So please try and address all your facilitator concerns with the facilitator. Be clear in your communications as to what the issue is, and always act in a professional manner. If you are unable to resolve some differences or you're unhappy with the quality of the feedback, after you've discussed this with your facilitator, then please email your regional office and we will have an investigation into your concerns. And any information about who to contact and where can always be found in the Candidate Guide Addendum. The workshops. The workshops are 2 days long, Saturday and Sunday, and this is your classroom learning time, and the session leader is there to facilitate discussion and lead the activities. Again, remember the workshops are focusing on enabling competencies. They are not an exam preparation course. It is expected that you would act professional at all times in the PEP program, which means you will arrive at time in your seat ready to start at 8:30. Your cell phone is off and you will not display any disruptive behavior. It is also expected that you come prepared. So if there are activities that you were supposed to do ahead of time, that you have done those activities and you are ready to learn. Otherwise, you will not get the benefit of those workshops and you'll be at a disadvantage compared to the others in your class. Workshop attendance is absolutely mandatory. We do not make exceptions for this unless they are extreme situations. So if you know that you cannot make the workshop, then you should be taking the module at a different time. Missing any or part of a workshop may result in you being not allowed to write the CFE, not allowed to continue into Capstone 2, and having to repeat the Capstone 1 module. If you are late, the session leaders will report to us. If it's beyond a 10 minutes time frame, you may be asked to leave the workshop and you may not be able to continue. So the only reason we will allow someone to miss a workshop is with extreme illness, and that means you've gone to see a doctor on the day of that you are missing the workshop, and you have a medical note which we can verify on our letterhead stating what the illness is and why you were unable to attend. You have an immediate death in your family, or you have a religious accommodation, in which case you should have let us know well in advance, and we need a letter from your faith leader confirming that you cannot attend. The information is in the Candidate Guide Addendum, and as I said, all absences should be reported to us where possible in advance. You are required to complete the workshop material ahead of time, and you can see that information in D2L under Module Workshop Pre-Work Checklists. The session leader is responsible for delivery of the workshops, facilitate discussions, run the activities. They are not there to help you with information on the exams. So some of the policies. It's very important that you've read the candidate guide. That's where everything that we have thought of that we need to inform you about is posted. So if you were wondering about your board report for Capstone 1 and what size font and what your margins are and how many words, all of that's in the candidate guide. If you're unsure about Dropbox deadlines and when something is due, again, it's in the candidate guide. So that is posted in D2L, and you need to refer to that often to ensure you know what to do. There is a training contract, but in Ontario, you would have signed this training contract at the time of registering for the module, so you don't need to worry about getting this signed. But just a reminder that you did sign off on this, and you have said that you do understand that this learning material is the property of CPA Canada, and that any sort of plagiarism will result in you being considered a fail on the module and possibly expelled from the CPA profession. You will need a laptop computer for use in the exam writing center, and all contents of exams are confidential. We do provide accommodations for students for medical reasons, and they will be granted for both the workshop and the examination. So please use the information in the candidate guide if you need to have accommodation. Extensions are only accepted in extenuating circumstances. So again, go back to the candidate guide addendum for the contact information and the candidate guide on when an exception would be made. But if you run into technical difficulties and it's 5 minutes before the module Dropbox deadline, you had better get it resolved. So leaving it to the last minute and then running into technical difficulties or saying that you don't have Wi-Fi access or your internet was down are not valid reasons. So again, don't leave it to the last minute, please. We're just going to do a little bit of a D2L walkthrough and show you some of the items in D2L. So when you go into D2L, I've already gone in and selected the Capstone 1 case, but you have the Oracle, and again the Oracle is some debriefing notes that will help you with some of the technical knowledge that you need to know for the module. There's the Dropbox, which will allow you to submit your assignments. There's some quizzes that you can do, and there's a discussion board. So you can post things on the discussion board, and there's an email, so you can email people within D2L. If you also look down at the bottom of the D2L, this is where you're going to find the Capstone 1 candidate guide and the candidate guide addendum, the Dropbox guide, and a couple of other guides. As well, if you go back to your course home, there's some important notices here. There's also some orientation videos that'll help you get through D2L for those of you who have not used D2L before. And then if you go to My Home, this is where you will get some information on how to contact D2L if you need help. So you want to make sure that you've got the candidate D2L help desk there if you do run into difficulty. So feedback. There's opportunities for you to give us feedback, and we certainly encourage you. The only way we can improve on these modules and make things better is if you let us know what's going on and what did work and what didn't work. So please complete the workshops after the workshop experience. There's also a survey after the module for the module experience, and if any time you do run into difficulty, as I said, if you haven't been able to resolve it with your facilitator, please contact your regional administrator. Thank you very much.